All right, guys, it's time to take a little bit deeper look at the Synchron Military, which is kind of a homage watch. Not kind of, it is a homage watch to the Doxa Army watch that was put out quite some time ago and extremely difficult to find. So, what do we have here? Let's just get right into it. Like I typically do, you have a 42 millimeter case, about a 45 millimeter lug to lug. Thickness is about 14 and a half thick. So it was a little bit thicker, but that's the way this case shape works. 20 millimeter lug width. You have a 6 millimeter screw down crown, keeping that 300 meter water resistance. And in this configuration weighs in at 127 gram. And it's placed on this Italian made isoframe rubber strap, which is made from real rubber and does have a little bit of a vanilla scent to it. You can see it even says isoframe on the, and that's going to come into play a little bit later in the video. We're going to talk about a little bit deeper information on this watch. So these were limited edition to 500. They had two different color variants. They had this black cased one, which I really like, and then they had the regular stainless steel cased one. Well, both of them had basically the same dial layout and everything. So I don't know if it was 500 per model or 500 total, but regardless, this is number 259 of 500. You have 120 click bezel on this. And is an amazing bezel. The bezel action on it is spectacular. It lines up. It's crisp. There's no play or anything like that. You have like this sawtooth grip to it that's very Doxa-like and is just perfect traction to spin that thing. You have like a sapphire covered bezel insert there. And let's see, movement inside. We're not 100% sure. I'm not going to pull the case back off because this is not my watch. My buddy Clayton from the Watchdog podcast, which I'll put a link to his podcast in the description down below. Big thanks to Clayton for allowing me to check this out and share it with you. It's his watch, so I'm not going to pop the case back off, but it should have either an ETA 2824 or the Sellita SW200. They left that open as an option to source whatever one, and they don't tell you exactly which one is in there. So you unscrew the crown here. It has a nice little pop to it. Nothing major, not very violent or anything like that. You'd be able to wind in that first position. Of course, if you pull it all the way out, it's going to hack the movement, and you can adjust the time. And you can see the dial layout on this now is revealed. You have the Synchron logo. Let's zoom in and take a look. And then you have the military down on the bottom right-hand side. So if we zoom in on this guy, you're going to see these beautiful colors that they decided to use on this, which are the main part of the homage to the Doxa Army. So you have the Synchron automatic up on the left quarter there, and then on the right quarter you have the lower quarter, you have the military with like a bullseye look to it, and then you have that really cool unique handset, and you have that second hand swooping around with that orange triangle and no balance on the back of it. It just stops at the post. And then you have that off-white or cream colored center part of the dial with all the black, and then that basically tan lume applied to the hands and to the indexes. Also used is the white and the tan on the bezel insert. Here's a closer look at that sawtooth grip on that bezel. Signed crown, and there's a look at the case back. Limited 259 of 500. Comes in this little tube here, very similar to some other brands. We'll also use this style of packaging. Pretty nice. Let's keep it protected. So let's talk a little bit deeper. So when this was released, and I'm going to quote Zach Weiss from Worn and Wound, I picked one thing that he said in the article, and I'll put a link to his article in the description as well, because it is a very good read. If you're interested in this watch or Doxa and you haven't read this, definitely read this article. The one thing I picked up on is he said, you had to know to care. And what he meant by that is the Doxa Army release is like, it's so far back and like it's so far removed from other models that have come forward, and you have to be like in that Doxa world super fan to even know about the Doxa Army, and then on top of that to even realize that the Synchron Military was released, because there was no announcement, there was no like hype, there was really nothing to draw attention to it. It just like popped out of nowhere, and then the people that either new grabbed them, or there's quite a few people, and it would have been myself if I would have just got off my butt and done it, just really liked the way the watch looked, maybe grabbed one. Hindsight, I kind of wish I would have, but chances are I probably would have flipped it anyway by now. But now I'm looking at them, and on the used market, they're holding pretty good. There's not really much of a flipper tax on it. We call it flipper tax when you take a hit on the sell. Now, because that's partly, you know, there's nothing else out there like that in the current market. So expect to pay, you know, $1,500 and up potentially to pick one of these up now if you want one, whether it's the black case one or the stainless steel one. So how do we feel about homage watches? I know that's a big gripe for a lot of people, but this one, the water's a little more muddy, right? Because Doxa's owned by Jenny right now, and at one point Synchron, back in like the 60s, 70s, Synchron used to actually own Doxa, and now neither one of them, like, they have their own owners, right? So Synchron's actually owned by Rick, and I don't know how to say your last name, sorry, but he owns actually Aquadive, Tropic straps, and Isoframe straps. So Synchron is owned by the same company that owns other things. So they're embedded into the watch community. I think that's very cool. It's not just some outsider that just kind of popped on the scene and dropped this. I think there's that tie-in. There's that, yeah, it's just really cool. So I would, and I'll put a link to Synchron's website down below, but there's no watches there. There's some straps you can pick up. I would love, if anybody over at Synchron's listening or watching, I would love to talk to you, and like, I would love to see more watches. I know that's probably not in your wheelhouse. You're doing other things, but this was a pretty epic release. I feel like there's opportunity for more things there. So let's pop this on wrist so you can see what it looks like on my 7 1/4 inch wrist. Of course, with an isoframe strap. I'm not going to do the full tuck on it, but it looks, wears, feels perfect. I mean, it's just such a comfortable watch, the case shape and everything, and extremely easy visually to grab the time or time something with that bezel. And of course, there's going to be really good lume on it. I didn't find any detailed information on what lume they actually use, but let's check it out. Let's kill the lights and check the lume right now, and then you guys can chime off down in the comments your thoughts on this release and Doxa, and what maybe you want to see. Maybe Doxa could come out with the Doxa Army again. I know they hinted at it. It would be kind of cool if they released their version. And then also, I would like to see more from Synchron. So beautiful lume. I like the lumed bezel as well, and easily legible, like I said. So great release, awesome watch. Big thanks to Clayton for allowing us to check it out. I'll see you guys in the next video.